Hello, welcome back. I'm Hannah from To Being Mindful Movement. Today's practice is for everyone, but it's been specifically designed for those who might be suffering from sciatic nerve issues or any lower back pain. So the sciatic nerve runs from the lower back through each leg, and it can sometimes get a little bit pinched depending on the layout of our body and our spine. So I'm really hoping that at the end of today's practice, you guys are going to receive some relief in your body. But if this is something that persists with you, please do go and seek out a physio or an osteo and find out why you're getting this pain. Because it is possible to be relieved of pain as well. So I've grabbed a couple of blocks. You may not use those, and something like a yoga strap. So if you don't have a yoga strap specifically, you could grab yourself maybe a cord from a dressing gown or even a tea towel. Something like that would be helpful. So we're going to be building some strength in the body, as well as adding some deep stretches. Let's go ahead and start on our hands and knees today in tabletop. Head your way to the center of your mat, plant the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees beneath those hips, and start to roll through your cat-cows, lifting the heart as you inhale and rounding the spine as you exhale. So I'm going to do 2 more of those, your regular cat-cow. You could do this on forearms or fists if preferred. And then after about 3 rounds of that, we're going to exaggerate the rounding of the spine as you also drop the hips back towards the heels. So I guess it's a bit like you're heading to child's pose. Tuck the chin in, round the back if you can still, and then lift your way back up through to your cow, and then rounding the spine. Like a scared cat, dropping the hips down towards the heels. This rocking back and forth motion. Let's go for 1 more of those. And then come and meet once again into tabletop pose. Start by extending the right leg back behind you. Tuck the toes to the earth and push the heel back as though you're trying to stamp the heel towards the earth, feeling a lengthening through the back of the heel, the ankle. Maybe it reaches up into the calf, the back of the knee. And then just swap it over to the other side. This time tucking the left toes back as though you're trying to push the heel down towards the earth. We'll stay with this left leg. Shift the weight so that your shoulders on top of the heels, your hips roughly on top of that right knee again, and then start to kick the right heel in towards the buttock as you attempt to lift, start to lift your left heel, the extended leg behind you, left heel in towards the buttocks there as you attempt to lift the left knee and then push the left heel up towards the ceiling and lift the heart. And then round, knee towards the face. And then bring the heel into the buttock as you lift the knee, the heel up, push the heel to the sky, squeeze through that left glute, and then round. We'll do that 1 more time. Lift, try to really activate through the back muscles. We're going to hold this one through your core. See if you can really engage through that left glute so that you're kicking the heel up towards the ceiling. And then once more round. Could you stay in that rounded position? Knee towards the face, kicking the left heel into the buttock as close as you can. And then without dropping the knee to the earth, just sort of bring yourself to a neutral position. The knee sort of drops down towards the ground. And then sometimes referred to as fire hydrant. Bring that left knee out towards the side. Lift it up high, stack the left hip, and then draw knees close together again. So remember, you could be doing this on fists if you're finding it's too much on the wrists. Lift the left knee out and lower. Let's see if we can do 3 more of those, so 5 in total. 3, lowering as you exhale. 2, let's go for 1 more. 1, can you bring the left knee towards the left shoulder now? For 3, you can do a little side crunch. For 2, maybe you look towards that left knee. For 1, and then bring your left foot where your left hand is. So you might lift the left hand, nice job. Into a low lunge, sometimes referred to as a bit of a lizard shape here. I've got hands either side of that left foot. Let the hips drop down for a moment. You can rest your torso on top of that left thigh. This is where blocks can be useful or handy. Feel free to bring them into practice. We're here for just about 2 more breaths. Let the hips sink. And then we're going to head towards what I refer to as active pigeon pose. So heel and toe that left foot across towards the right side underneath you. And drop left knee roughly where the left hand was. And now can you stay high through the hips? Instead of that automatic kind of dropping down, I want you to stay active. Tuck the right toes behind you. You could do all of this with hands on blocks if you'd like a little extra lift or lengthening through the arms. Don't be afraid to bring them into play. Can you keep the back foot, the right toes tucked on the earth? Press down into your hands. And then maybe you can hover the right knee. Now, if this is too active, keep the knee to the ground. You do not have to have the whole of the back thigh and leg off the ground, but if we can, a little lift. Some of you will feel comfortable enough to bring hands off the support of the ground or blocks, holding for 3 more breaths, for 2, for 1, and then just soften the weight down. You can turn this into deer pose if preferred. Otherwise, let's go ahead and lounge. So pigeon pose, just softening through the hips. Seeing if you can find a little more release with each breath. Notice where you might be clinging on tight in the body, and it is now time to soften. You might have enough room to bring the elbows wide, soften the forehead to the back of the hands, or stay a little higher as we were before. Just letting gravity do the work now. Those of you who were not sure what deer pose looked like, I'm just giving a little demo where I've just brought the back knee in. So right knee comes towards the sole of that left foot, and then you're bowing over your left shin as an alternative. Can we stay for another 3 breaths? You might do a little wiggle, try to find a little more space. And then slowly start to lift your way back up onto the hands. We'll tuck the back toes. We're going to lift back to downward facing dog. So right toes to the earth. Firmly bring your weight into your hands as you lift the hips high enough to step the left foot back. And give that a good pedal out. Get the blood flowing towards the ankles, the knees, the hips. You might even like a little sway back and forth. Just do what you want to get a little more energized, sensations, back into the body. And then from here, go ahead and drop the knees once again towards the earth. So back into your tabletop. And we're gonna go ahead and kick the right heel this time in towards the buttock and lift that right knee. Can you start to stamp the right foot towards the sky? Lift the heart and then round knee towards the face. Exhale. Lift the sole of that right foot upwards towards the ceiling. Lift the heart, squeeze the glute, and then round. Go ahead and bring sole of right foot up towards the ceiling. This time hold, squeeze through that right glute. Lift the heart, breathe. And then again, round the right knee in towards the face. Again, can we pause here? Can you try to kick that right heel as tight as you can towards the right glute, rounding the spine. And then lower the right knee, but don't let it drop all the way to the earth. Little fire hydrants or a variation. You're going to bring the right knee out towards the side, activate through the right glute. You can lift the right hip and then lower. So today you can stack those hips, lift, 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 and then lower. 5 in total. You could always do this on fists if we're finding being on the palms a little uncomfy. You could also do that on your forearms. So we've got one more. Go ahead and lift. Could you pause? And then could you bring your right knee towards your right elbow or shoulder? And you can look back towards the right knee, little side crunch, so shortening through the right side of the waist. And then look where your right hand is. We're going to place right foot roughly where the right hand was. Hands either side, so framing that right foot. Let's take a moment, pause, sinking down through the hips. You could bring the blocks into play underneath the hands if you'd like to. So at the moment, you can kind of lounge your body along the top of that right thigh. Just feeling into sensations of openness. And then we're heading towards that active pigeon once again. So heel and toe the right foot underneath you. Your right knee goes roughly where the right hand is. We're setting up for that active pigeon. So if possible, try to avoid just dropping straight down here. And then we want to tuck the back toes. You do not have to lift the back knee, but if it's comfy, if you're feeling strong, see if you can lift the back knee. Lift that thigh right up off the earth. And then think about hugging everything to center line. I should have mentioned that on the first side. You want to think to the center and actually think lifting those hips. Perhaps hands will come off the earth or your props. Heart is lifted. You've got this. Don't worry if your hands are still on the ground or even the back knee. And then we can settle and sink. Can be quite a wonderful way to head into a pigeon pose, coming from an active place then towards passive. So remember, you could take that deer option, just a little reminder where we draw the back knee in and then fold over the right shin. Or you've got the left leg long as we were in pigeon. Maybe after a few breaths, you could explore widening the elbows and even letting the forehead drop towards earth or back of the hands. So at this point, we settle in and really allow gravity to take over. And these kinds of poses where we linger, it can be really a great practice to constantly check in with the body. So maybe every sort of 3rd to 5th breath, we remind ourselves, how do I feel in this moment? Is there any more room? And then perhaps send a softening exhale into the muscles that are holding tight. Imagining that the breeze of our breath soothes those muscles. In this kind of pose, probably inner outer thigh, could do with a little gentle breeze of breath, glutes. Last breath. And then we'll be lifting our way back up onto those palms. We're stepping our way back into downward dog. Give yourself some space to wiggle, to move, to explore. Maybe bending one or both legs, a pedal, a sway, a nice deep releasing breath. If you feel that you've got the energy, you could jump the feet wide of the hands, or we step the hands up wide of the hands towards the top of the mat. So I've got my toes just hanging on the edge of the mat as I sink down into yogic squat. If you do have a block handy, you could always bring that into play and sit yourself up onto it. This is not cheating, it's just creating space for us. And you can explore with the heels lifted, even if that is an impossible task to bring the heels down. Now, it could be that that party trick is just not available to you ever. Some of us are structurally made different, so don't think that because heels are not touching the ground, you are not yogi enough. You might have just been born that way, as I've been lucky enough to be born with enough space in my ankles. Can we stay for 2 more breaths? So we're going to end up in a forward fold, and if possible, we're going to try to move into that forward fold really slow and controlled. So it means we have to actually activate again through the glutes and the thighs. Can you keep the knees wide? Bring your hands forward. So if you're on the tippy toes, this is going to be far more of a challenge in terms of balance. Don't worry if you have to touch the ground or blocks. If you're sitting on a block, you're going to see if you can start to hover your buttocks off the block. That's also going to be a mega challenge. Can we see if we can lift the hips and the heart maybe an inch or 2? Knees stay wide. You've got this. I'm trying to sidetrack you through holding this pose. Can you lift another inch? You've got this. This is where we start to feel all those muscle engagement, and then lift the hips as you bow forwards. Feet are good hip width apart, and then really gently sway here. So hands on blocks could be a great option. I'm bending one knee more than the other, seeing if one sit bone or glute can lift a little higher than the other. And then let's start to concentrate on the weight of our head, lengthening out through the neck and the spine. So it's like our head is getting heavier and heavier. Maybe there's a little yes or a no. I'm really enjoying a few deep breaths here myself, in through the nose and a sigh away through the mouth. Just for another 2 breaths, you might explore bringing the hands behind the lower back, interlacing fingers or taking hold of elbows, and just seeing if those hands or arms could drop away from the torso and the body. Overhead. Last breath. Hands gently move back towards the hips and then slowly lower towards the earth. We're going to want that strap nearby as we start to lower the hips towards the ground. We're going to end up onto our spine, and I'm going to grab that strap along the way. So just finding back body on the earth there. And we'll keep the feet on the ground, and just for a moment, widen the feet and TP the knees together. If you wanted to, you could bring your hands like a diamond shape onto the lower abdomen. Index fingers touching, maybe thumb tips touching or close. Just feeling the rise and fall of the belly. And feeling connected with earth. Some of you will have a thicker carpet underneath you, some of you more of a solid ground, but Could you notice the texture of the ground and the earth beneath your body and supporting you here? Can you imagine your spine taking up space on the ground? One more calming breath here, finding your presence. And then reaching for your strap. Not everyone will need this, but it could be a really wonderful tool to work with. And we're going to loop our strap around the ball of the right foot. So roughly where the right big toe knuckle is. Start to extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. And let's do some sort of good toes, naughty toes. Yes, I used to be a ballerina when I was young. And so we're flexing and pointing that foot, but we're giving it a little bit of resistance with the strap here. So I've chosen to keep my left foot grounded on the earth for this. You might like to do the same, just for a little extra stability, and also keeping the lumbar, the base of the spine, nicely earthed as we do this. So pointing and flexing through that right foot just a couple more times, and then we'll create a bit of a semicircle or full circle. So just doing what feels good for you through the ankle and still having a bit of resistance. I'm not firmly pulling, but it's just kind of the weight of my arms and gravity here. And you might notice going one direction feels really sticky. Maybe there's just an area that feels really sticky for you. You might like to make that movement really small and just work in a focused area. And if you've gone one way, make sure that you've gone the other way. And then just holding on to both edges of that strap with your right hand. Left hand might want to be placed on the left hip, or you could bring the left hand out to the side for a bit more stability. And then start to draw that right knee in towards the belly. And then if you feel like you've got the space, you could take it wider out towards the armpit area. So just sort of find a place that you feel is more comfortable. And I might start centered just for a breath or two. And then I'm going to choose to bring my knee a bit wider now towards the armpit. And as I do that, I want to counter the weight by widening the left knee as well a little bit. So I feel really supported and vast through the spine, through the hips, as though we're spreading that weight. Center of gravity is really holding us in place. So I'm now just holding firmly for one more breath, adding a little compression through the front of that right hip flexor, and then extend the right leg straight up towards the ceiling. Swap the hands over. Left hand grips both the sides of the strap, and then we're going to drop the left knee down towards the earth and the right leg out towards the earth. So maybe spread the right hand away from you. You could turn your head towards the right side. I know that I want to lift my hips just a fraction and scoot them an inch or so towards the right side before I do this. It gives me a little more stability, and for me, I like the length of the spine that way. So I'm going to press left foot down, shimmy my hips just an inch or so towards the right side, then drop the legs down slow and controlled towards the left side. Now you can have the straps really long, maybe you've got it shorter, you explore. Still a little bit of resistance there between gripping of the strap and the foot pressing into that fabric. Maybe the head turns the opposite direction to that leg. And explore how high that leg goes in terms of sensation through that right glute and hip. And what I notice is that my right glute and sit bone wants to kind of lift up towards the ceiling, and almost as though it's trying to come towards my shoulders or my face. So I want to now lengthen and push my right hip down and away, getting a little more resistance. Play with that resistance in your own body. See what feels obtainable, what feels good. And then using your leg strength, your core, lift the leg up, back through center. One last pose. You could keep the left foot on the ground, or you can extend the left leg long. Grab hold both hands onto that fabric, onto your strap, and maybe just for the last part, inhale, lift your head, your shoulders, and see if you can come closer towards your leg in the sky. One more breath. And then soften down, releasing the strap. You could do a little windscreen wipe at the legs, a little wiggle out. So we'll go for that little routine on the second side now as well. Soles of feet to the earth, the knees are bent. Let's go ahead and bring the strap around the ball of that left big toe. And we're going to do our good toes, naughty toes, extending, and pointing through the foot, and then flexing through the foot. And just noticing any differences between the two sides. Maybe you notice on this side more sensation working its way down through the back of that leg in the sky, maybe less. Maybe you notice little sticky points. Not judging, just a curious mind here. And then let's go for some circles or semicircles. You might notice one way feels much easier than the other. And vice versa, of course. I'm definitely feeling more controlled through one side over the other. As often we can be more dominant through left or right foot as well as our hands. And then from here, take hold of both edges of your strap with your left hand, maybe right hand to right hip. Start by drawing the knee straight through center, and you might feel like that's going to work for you and you want to stay there. Maybe after a breath or two, you widen the left knee, so you're trying to tuck that left knee in towards the armpit. And I like to counter that weight distribution by widening through the right knee as well. As though you're spreading your hips into the earth, spreading your shoulders and back body into the earth. Into a half happy baby variation here. And there is a bit of resistance, so you could sort of push against the strap as well here. And then go ahead and extend the leg up towards the ceiling. I know that I like a little shimmy of the hips, so I'm going to press right foot into the earth, shimmy my lower back and hips slightly to the left as we start to drop the legs down towards the right. I'm going to do a little maneuver to create a little space for myself. Perhaps you've spread that left arm out behind you. Maybe you've turned the head away, but if that's not feeling comfy for the neck, go ahead and keep your head very centered. And explore with how high you want that left foot or knee. And then again, I notice that if I'm not concentrating, I kind of slouch into the hips and my left hip wants to draw up as though it's turned towards the ceiling or towards my face. So I want to just try extending left sit bone down towards the base of the mat. And you'll notice maybe that the right hip kind of cinches in and lifts a little bit off and away from the mat. And then we want to engage our core and our leg muscles to lift that left leg back up towards the ceiling. Last deep stretch here. You might choose to extend the right leg away. Maybe both hands grab that strap once again and seeing if we can lift head and shoulders up off the earth towards that leg in the sky. And then soften head and shoulders and leg towards the earth. So I'm going to bring my feet to a good hip width apart on the mat. Start off by windscreen wiping the legs a little side to side. Try to spread shoulders into the earth. And then the next time that your legs or the knees turn out towards the right side, let the legs become heavy. Pause here, and you can explore just letting gravity take over, or if you feel comfortable going there, right ankle perhaps hooks on top of that left knee if it's available. I quite like to keep the right foot flexed. For me, that sort of feels really solid and grounding, and I feel like I can keep it in place when I do that. You might try it. A little bit of a quad stretch through the front of that left thigh. And don't worry about having to have your ankle hooked on top of the knee. Gravity can also do wonders here. Feel free to linger longer in any of these poses, but we're going to head towards that second side. Swapping it over, let the knees drop down so the feet are quite wide here. And then if and when it feels right, perhaps this time the left ankle goes on top of that right knee. And then there's a sense of drawing that right knee even closer towards the earth. And again, perhaps you're flexing through that left foot if that works for you in keeping the legs feeling solid and secure. And last breath. And we go ahead and release. And it is time to think about settling in for Shavasana. If you want to bring any pillows underneath the back of the knees or something behind the back of the head, feel free to do that. Another alternative with the legs is Supta Baddha Konasana, butterfly, soles of feet together, knees wide. Your choice how you shift your weight here. You might like 3 deep nourishing breaths to settle in through the nose, away through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through your mouth. Beginning to reconnect to your surroundings, taking in the sounds at first. Taking in the light above your eyelids. And now choosing to lengthen the breath so that we can start to re-energize our fingers and our toes. Perhaps we extend that all the way into a deep stretch. Hugging the knees in and rolling to the side. We make our way up to seated. Pausing with the palms facing down upon your thighs. Take observation of the weight of the hands here. Take observation of the earth beneath your body. A connection to grounding, stability, strength. You might like to bring palms together, a light touch of thumbs into heart space, a moment to nourish within. Thank you for joining today's practice. I bow to you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like To The Being free and accessible to all.